Scan the blue ones, not the white ones, Chloe said, handing me the registry gun. The blue matches the guest bathroom better. You picked white towels 2 weeks ago. That was 2 weeks ago, James. She said it like I was slow for remembering. Things change. I scanned the blue towels anyway. 2 years engaged, and I'd learned it was easier to just agree than to ask why things kept changing. We were halfway through the kitchen section when I heard his voice. Chloe? Is that you? Richard Vance. My boss. Standing there in a blazer that probably cost more than our whole registry list. Like running into your employee's fiancé at a home goods store on a Saturday was the most natural thing in the world. Richard, Chloe's face did something I hadn't seen in a long time. Lit up, actually lit up, in a way it hadn't for me since maybe the second year we dated. What are you doing here? Picking up a few things. What a coincidence. He smiled at me, brief and forgettable, then turned right back to her. James never mentioned you had such good taste. This is a beautiful registry. James doesn't really have opinions on dish towels, Chloe laughed. I stood there holding a scanner gun, watching my boss and my fiancé talk like I wasn't in the aisle with them. We should let you two finish, Richard said eventually, though he didn't move right away. Chloe, that dinner idea we talked about, still happening this week. Something cold moved through my chest. Dinner idea? Work thing, Chloe said quickly, not looking at me. Client stuff? I told you about it. She hadn't told me about it. I would have remembered. Richard gave a small wave and walked off toward the registers, and Chloe watched him go a half-second longer than felt normal. You never mentioned dinner with Richard, I said. It's not a big deal, James. Can we finish this? We still have the bedding section. We didn't talk about it again until we reached checkout, standing in line with a cart full of towels and dishes for a wedding that suddenly felt very far away. James. Chloe's voice was low, different. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the scanner gun in my hand like she needed something to focus on. I need to tell you something. Okay. I've been seeing Richard. For a few months now. The cashier called next customer to the couple in front of us. The world kept moving around me while mine stopped completely. Seeing him, I repeated. As in seeing him, James. Yes. She finally looked up, and there was no shame in her face. Just tiredness, like she'd been carrying a secret too heavy to hold anymore, and was relieved to finally set it down. I didn't plan for it to happen. It just did. We're getting married in 4 months. I know. You know. My voice came out flatter than I felt. So what is this? A confession? An apology? I'm choosing him, James. She said it so simply, like she was choosing a paint color, not ending 5 years of my life in a checkout line surrounded by towels I'd just scanned for our future together. I think I've known for a while. Today just made it clear. Today, in a home goods store. I'm sorry it's like this. Next in line, please. The cashier called again, more pointed this time. Chloe set the registry gun down on the conveyor belt like it was nothing. Like it hadn't been in my hand 2 minutes ago while I picked between blue and white towels for a wedding she'd apparently already decided wasn't happening. He's outside, she said. Waiting. I looked past her, through the front windows, and there was Richard's car idling at the curb, exactly where he must have told her to meet him. You had this planned, I said, before we even walked in here. She didn't answer that. She just picked up her purse, looked at me one last time with something that might have been guilt if it had lasted longer than a second, and walked toward the doors. I stood there at checkout, surrounded by strangers, holding nothing. The cashier asked if I was ready to pay for the items already scanned. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to say to that. My things were already by the door when I got home. 3 boxes, my suitcase, and a garbage bag full of shoes, all stacked neatly by the entrance like Chloe had planned this the second she walked out of that store. You already packed, I said, standing in the doorway of the apartment that had never technically been mine. Her name on the lease. Her name on the mortgage application we'd talked about, but never filed together. I figured it would be easier this way. Chloe didn't even look up from her phone. For both of us. Easier for you, maybe. James, please don't make this harder than it has to be. I didn't say anything else. I just called Ben. He showed up 20 minutes later with his truck and didn't ask a single question about why I was standing outside my own apartment building with boxes at my feet. I got you, man, he said, already lifting the suitcase. Let's just get this loaded. We worked in silence for a while, and it wasn't until we were driving away that he finally said something. I never liked her, you know. Now you tell me. Would you have listened 3 years ago? He kept his eyes on the road. I saw her flirting with Richard at the holiday party last year. And the one before that. Told myself it was nothing. Told myself it wasn't my business. Why didn't you say something? Because you looked happy, James. Or you looked like you'd convinced yourself you were. I didn't want to be the guy who blew that up over something I wasn't even sure about. He glanced at me. I'm sorry. I should have said something. It wouldn't have changed anything. Maybe not. But you would have seen it coming. Mia opened her apartment door before I even knocked, like she'd been standing there waiting. Ben called me, she said, pulling me inside. James, I'm going to lose my mind. 5 years. 5 years, and she does this in the middle of a store. It gets better. I set my suitcase down. She's with Richard. My boss. Your boss. Mia's voice climbed an octave. Are you kidding me? I wish. You know what this is, right? She crossed her arms, pacing now. This is her mother. Grace has been pushing Chloe to marry up since we were in high school together, James. I remember her saying it at their Thanksgiving one year. Something about how Chloe was too smart to settle. Settle. That's what I was. You were never settling, James. You were the best thing that ever happened to her, and she was too busy chasing some idea of a better life to see it. Mia softened, sitting down next to me. I just wish you'd seen it sooner. So do I. I stayed on her couch for the next 2 weeks, cycling through the same questions at 2 in the morning. Had 5 years actually meant anything to her? Had I just been a placeholder while she waited for something better to come along? I kept replaying moments, birthdays, apartment tours, the night I proposed, searching for the exact point where I'd stopped being enough. I didn't find an answer. I just found exhaustion. I ran into Olivia by accident, at a coffee shop 2 blocks from Mia's place. On a morning, I almost didn't leave the couch at all. James Whitmore. She was standing at the pickup counter, holding a coffee, looking at me like she couldn't quite believe it. Wow. It's been, what, 10 years? Olivia Thompson. I actually smiled, which surprised me. Yeah, something like that. You look. She tilted her head. Tired, honestly. Rough couple of weeks. Well, she grabbed the empty chair across from mine without asking, setting her coffee down like she'd already decided to stay. I've got 20 minutes before my next meeting. Tell me what's going on. I actually mean that. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt like talking. So she just told you. In a checkout line. Olivia shook her head slowly, stirring her coffee like it helped her process it. James, that's not heartbreak. That's a plot twist from a bad soap opera. Tell me about it. How are you doing? Actually doing. Not the version you tell Ben, so he stops worrying. I laughed, surprised she already knew that about me after 10 years apart. Honestly, I don't know yet. Some mornings I'm fine. Some mornings I can't get off my sister's couch. That sounds about right for 5 years unraveling in one afternoon. She said it plainly, no pity in her voice, which I appreciated more than I expected to. What about you? Last I heard you were doing graphic design somewhere. I own a design studio now. Small, but it's mine. We just landed a contract with a marketing firm downtown, actually. She smiled, and it was steady, unhurried. Nothing like the performance Chloe used to put on for a room. It's been a good year, work-wise. Personal life's been quieter, which I've decided I'm okay with. Quieter sounds nice right now. Give it time. Chaos has a way of finding people like us anyway. She glanced at her watch. I actually do have that meeting. But I'd like to do this again. Just talking. No pressure, no agenda. I'd like that too. The office was worse than I expected. Did you hear? Ben caught me by the coffee machine 3 days later, voice low. Chloe posted about her and Richard. Publicly. Like, tagged him in a photo publicly. Of course she did. There's more. He hesitated. She's telling people the engagement was basically over months ago. That you two were just going through the motions. Some people are saying she's calling it fake, like the whole thing was one-sided from your end. That's not what happened. I know that. You know that. But office gossip doesn't care what actually happened. Ben shook his head. People are just eating it up because Richard's the boss and she's suddenly his girlfriend at every company function. I felt heat crawl up my neck. Humiliation stacking on top of humiliation. So now I'm the guy who begged his fiancée to stay in a fake relationship. Some people are saying that, yeah. Great. I poured my coffee with a hand that wasn't quite steady. Anything else I should know? Just don't let it get to you too much, man. Anyone who actually knows you knows that's not true. I wanted to believe that mattered more than it did. I texted Olivia that night, mostly because I didn't want to sit alone with the rumors running laps in my head. Me, rough day at work. You still up for that coffee sometime this week? Olivia, tomorrow evening? I know a better spot than the one we ran into each other at. Me, deal. That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a habit, twice a week, then 3 times, then most days without either of us really deciding it on purpose. She never asked me to explain Chloe more than once. She never made me perform being okay. You know what I like about this? I said one night, a few weeks in, sitting across from her at a small Italian place near her studio. What? You're not chaos. I spent 5 years thinking love was supposed to feel like walking on ice, waiting to see if today was the day it cracked. I turned my glass slowly. This doesn't feel like that. Good, Olivia said simply. It's not supposed to. I'm not saying this to rush anything. I stopped, searching for the honest version of what I meant. I like who I am when I'm around you. That's new for me. She reached across the table, steady, no drama in it at all. I like who you are too, James. I always kind of did, actually. Even back in high school. I just never said anything. 10 years too late. Or exactly on time. She smiled. Depends how you look at it. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time since that registry counter, I felt something that wasn't grief. It felt like the beginning of something I hadn't let myself want yet. Something real, growing quietly, without an audience or an agenda. I didn't know yet how much that quiet thing would end up changing everything. You should ask for the senior analyst position, Olivia said, not looking up from the takeout containers she was setting on my counter. The one that opened up last month. I've thought about it. Thinking about it isn't the same as asking for it, James. She sat down across from me. How long has that position been open? 5 weeks. And how long have you been qualified for it? I didn't answer right away, because the honest answer was embarrassing. Longer than that. So what's stopping you? I don't know. Chloe used to say I wasn't boardroom material. Said I didn't have the presence for it. I shrugged, like it didn't still sit somewhere in my chest. Maybe some of that stuck. James. Olivia set down her fork, looking at me directly. She said that to make herself feel better about wanting someone flashier. That's not a fact about you. That's a fact about her insecurity. You really believe that? I know that. I've seen your work, remember? You walked me through that campaign deck last week without even trying to impress me. You're good at this. You just stopped believing it because someone convinced you doubting yourself was safer than trying. I sat with that for a second. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just weren't dating me yet. She smiled, but there was real weight behind her eyes. Ask for the promotion, James. Not for me. For you. Derek Holt caught me in the hallway 2 days after I finally requested the meeting. Whitmore. He fell into step beside me, which he'd never done before. I saw your proposal for the Kessler account. Sharp work. Cleaner than anything Richard's team has put out in months. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me. It's just true. He glanced around before lowering his voice. I've been watching this company drift under Richard's leadership for a while now. I like people who do good work quietly instead of good talk loudly. You understand the difference. I think so. Good. Because I'd like to start mentoring you directly, if you're open to it. I think you've got more in you than this company's been letting you use. I stood there for a second, stunned. I'd be honored, Derek. Don't be honored. Be useful. He almost smiled. We'll talk Monday. The rumors got worse before they got better. She's telling people it's a rebound, Ben said, dropping into the chair across from my desk. That you and Olivia are fake too. That you're just doing it to save face after Chloe dumped you. Let her talk. You're not even a little mad? I was mad for the first few weeks. I leaned back. Now I've got Derek mentoring me, a woman I actually love, and Chloe's still stuck making noise about my life because hers isn't going the way she planned. I don't need to defend anything to people who already made up their minds. Ben studied me for a second. You've changed, man. Good, I said. I needed to. I proposed to Olivia on a Tuesday, no grand production, just the two of us on her studio's rooftop after hours. String lights, she'd hung herself for a client shoot still glowing overhead. I know this isn't some big spectacle, I said, ring in hand, heart going faster than I expected. I know it's fast by some people's standards, but I've never been more sure of anything. James. Olivia's eyes were already wet. I don't need a spectacle. I need this. I need you exactly like this. Is that a yes? That's a yes, you idiot. We got married 3 months later. Small ceremony. Maybe 40 people. All of them people who actually loved us instead of people performing for a guest list. Mia cried through the entire thing. Ben gave a best man speech that somehow made everyone laugh and tear up in the same sentence. Derek showed up, which surprised me, and shook my hand afterward with something like pride in his face. "You did this right," he said. "Small, real, no performance. That says more about you than any big wedding ever could." "Thank you, Derek. Really." Olivia found me near the end of the night, both of us slightly out of breath from dancing, and rested her head against my shoulder. "No regrets?" she asked. "None. Not one." I pulled back just enough to look at her. "I used to think love was supposed to be complicated. Something you had to fight to keep or prove you deserved. This just feels like the opposite of all that." "That's because it is the opposite of all that." She smiled up at me. "This is what it's actually supposed to feel like, James. Everything before this was just practice for knowing the difference." I held on to that thought the rest of the night. That somewhere in the wreckage of a checkout line and packed boxes and whispered office rumors, I'd actually ended up exactly where I was supposed to be. I just hadn't known it yet, back when it was falling apart. The company holiday party was the last place I wanted to see Chloe, and of course, it was exactly where she found me. "James." She appeared at my elbow near the bar, wine glass in hand. That same performance smile she used to wear for Richard now aimed at me. "I heard you actually did it. Got married." "I did. So fast, though." She tilted her head, mock sympathetic. "Feels a little desperate, don't you think? Rushing down the aisle with someone new right after I left." "It wasn't rushed, Chloe. It was right." "Sure it was." She sipped her wine. "I mean, I get it. You needed to save face. Show everyone you moved on, just as fast as I did. But we both know what a rebound marriage looks like. Do we? Where is she, anyway?" Chloe glanced around the room like she was scanning for someone forgettable. "I'd love to finally meet the woman you replaced me with in under a year. She's on her way. Can't wait." Chloe's smile sharpened. "I'm sure she's lovely." The way she said it made it clear she expected the opposite. Olivia walked in 15 minutes later, and I watched Chloe's whole posture change before I'd even said a word of introduction. "James." Derek's voice cut through the room first, warm and delighted. "Is that Olivia Whitmore I see? You know her?" Chloe's voice came out thinner than before. "Know her?" Derek laughed, crossing the room to shake Olivia's hand. "She's the reason we landed the Kessler and Mornington accounts this year. Best design partnership this firm has had in a decade." "That's very kind, Derek." Olivia smiled, easy and unbothered, slipping her hand into mine like she'd been standing beside me at 100 parties just like this one. "We're proud of that work." Two of the senior clients near the bar turned at the sound of her name, one of them actually raising a glass in her direction. "Olivia, didn't know you'd be here tonight," one of them called out. "Your studio's redesign saved our entire quarterly campaign. You know that?" "Happy to help," Olivia said warmly. "James speaks highly of this place. Figured I should finally see it for myself." Chloe stood frozen beside me, wine glass halfway to her lips, watching half the room greet my wife like she was the guest of honor. "You two know each other?" Chloe finally managed, looking at Olivia now, some of the mockery draining out of her voice. "We went to high school together," Olivia said simply. "Reconnected a while back. It's been wonderful." "I didn't realize you ran Whitmore Design," Chloe said slowly, like the words cost her something. "Bennett Design, actually. I kept my studio name." Olivia's smile didn't waver, but there was something quietly pointed underneath it. Small distinction, but an important one to me. "Right." Chloe's voice had gone smaller than I'd ever heard it. Derek clapped a hand on my shoulder before Chloe could recover. "James, walk with me a second. I want you to hear this before it's official news." I glanced at Olivia, who nodded me forward, completely at ease standing there among people who clearly respected her. "What's going on?" I asked once we were a few steps away. Derek's voice dropped lower. "Richard's in trouble. The Kessler account nearly walked because of missed deadlines his team's been hiding for months. I've got the board looking into how deep it goes." "How deep does it look?" "Deep enough that I don't think he survives this quarter." Derek studied me. "I wanted you to hear it from me first, given the history there." I looked back toward the bar, where Chloe was still standing near Olivia, smaller now, listening to two clients talk about my wife's studio like she wasn't even in the conversation. "How's she taking that news, by the way?" Derek asked, following my gaze. "The girlfriend. If the rumors about the account are true, this isn't just Richard's career on the line." "I don't know," I admitted. but I have a feeling she's about to find out exactly what she attached herself to. I walked back toward the bar a few minutes later. Chloe was gone by then, slipped out sometime while I wasn't looking, leaving her wine glass half full on the counter. Olivia slid her hand into mine again. You okay? Better than okay. I glanced toward the door Chloe had disappeared through. I think tonight was the first time she realized this isn't the story she thought it was. Which part? All of it, I said. Every part. Derek called an all-staff meeting on a Wednesday morning, and I knew from the tightness in his jaw that this wasn't going to be routine. Effective immediately, Richard Vance has stepped down as CEO, Derek announced, standing at the front of the conference room. An internal review found significant financial discrepancies tied to the Kessler and Mornington accounts, along with a pattern of misrepresented client reporting going back over a year. The room went dead silent. I know this is a lot to process, Derek continued. I'll be serving as interim CEO while the board conducts a full review. I want to be transparent with all of you. This wasn't a small mistake. This was a pattern, and it should have been caught sooner. Ben leaned toward me as the meeting broke up. A year, man. A year of this. And nobody said anything? People don't report their bosses when they benefit from staying quiet, I said. Chloe's been getting preferential project assignments since she started seeing him. You think she was going to ask questions? She didn't know? Maybe not the specifics, but she knew enough to look away. I shrugged. Sometimes that's its own kind of guilty. By Friday, the office was buzzing with a different kind of gossip. Richard was gone, escorted out with a box of his things like it was the most anticlimactic ending imaginable for a man who'd once seemed untouchable. And Chloe's name was suddenly attached to every whispered version of the story. Did you hear she's the one who signed off on some of those falsified reports? I overheard someone say near the break room. Not intentionally, probably, but her name's on the paperwork. She's basically radioactive now, someone else added. Nobody wants to be associated with either of them. I didn't go looking for the gossip. It found me anyway, the way it always does in an office this size. Chloe texted me that weekend. First time in months. Chloe, can we talk? Please. I know I don't deserve it, but I need to say something. I almost didn't respond. But Olivia, reading over my shoulder, just shrugged. Hear her out if you want to, she said. You don't owe her anything, but you also don't have to carry around wondering what she would have said. Your choice, James. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop, the same kind of place where all of this had somehow kept circling back to start over. Chloe looked different. Smaller. Somehow, the polish gone from how she used to carry herself. Thank you for coming, she said. You said you needed to say something. I made a mistake. Her voice cracked slightly. A huge one. Richard's gone, my reputation's in pieces, and I keep replaying that day at the store over and over, wondering what I actually thought I was choosing. What did you think you were choosing? I don't know anymore. I thought I wanted excitement. Status. Someone who felt like an upgrade. She looked down at her coffee. I didn't love him, James. Not really. I think I loved what he represented. And I lost you chasing something that wasn't even real. Chloe, I still think about you, she said quickly, before I could finish. About us. I know it's insane to say this, especially now that you're married, but I think I made the biggest mistake of my life letting you go. Is there any chance? No, I said, calm and certain, no anger behind it. There's no chance, Chloe. James, please, just. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I kept my voice even. I'm saying it because it's true. I spent 5 years trying to be enough for someone who was always looking past me for something shinier. I'm not interested in going back to that, even if the shinier thing didn't work out the way you hoped. I've changed. Maybe you have. I hope you have, honestly, for your own sake. I stood up, steady in a way I wouldn't have been able to manage 6 months ago. But I didn't marry Olivia because I was angry at you or trying to prove something. I married her because she's who I actually want. That doesn't change because your life fell apart. Chloe's eyes were wet, but she didn't argue. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For all of it. I believe you. I meant it too. I hope you find whatever you were actually looking for, Chloe. I just know it's not going to be me. I walked out of that coffee shop without looking back, and for the first time since that day in the checkout line, I didn't feel anything heavy trailing behind me at all. Senior Director of Strategy. Derek slid the offer letter across his desk like it was nothing, though we both knew it wasn't. Board approved it unanimously this morning. I stared at the title for a second before I trusted myself to speak. I don't know what to say, Derek. Say yes. He almost smiled. You've earned this, James. Every bit of it. 2 years ago, you were a guy who couldn't ask for a promotion he deserved. Now you're the person half this office looks to when things get complicated. A lot changed in 2 years. A lot changed because you let it, Derek said. I've watched plenty of people go through what you went through and come out smaller. You did the opposite. I signed the letter that afternoon, and when I called Olivia to tell her, she didn't even let me finish the sentence before she started celebrating. Senior Director. James, that's incredible. I could hear her grinning through the phone. We're celebrating tonight. No arguments. I wasn't going to argue. Good. Because I already made a reservation. The company's spring gala was the first big event since Richard's exit made everything official, and walking in as senior director felt different than walking in as the guy everyone whispered about a year ago. You clean up nice, Mr. Director, Olivia said, straightening my collar before we headed into the ballroom. You're one to talk. Half this room already knows your name better than mine. That's not true. It's a little true, I said, laughing. I'm okay with it, for the record. We made our way through the room, stopping to talk with Ben, who'd been promoted himself under the new leadership, and Derek, who introduced Olivia to 2 more clients like she was the reason the company was still standing, which, in some ways, she was. I saw Chloe near the far wall, standing mostly alone, a drink in her hand. She wasn't really drinking. She looked smaller in a crowd that used to orbit around her. You okay? Olivia asked, following my gaze. Yeah, I meant it. Just noticing. Noticing what? How different this feels now. A year ago, I would have felt something seeing her standing over there alone. Guilt, maybe. Or some strange satisfaction. I turned back to Olivia. Now I just feel nothing, really. Not cold nothing. Just done. Complete. That sounds like peace, James. Maybe it is. Chloe caught my eye once, briefly, across the room. She gave a small nod, nothing dramatic, nothing that needed a response. I nodded back, and that was the whole conversation. It felt like enough. Later, near the end of the night, Ben found me by the terrace doors. Crazy how things turn out, huh? He said, leaning against the railing beside me. A year ago, you were sleeping on your sister's couch. Don't remind me. I'm serious, man. Look at you now. Big title, a wife who half this company respects more than the last 2 CEOs combined, and Chloe over there standing by herself with nobody to talk to. He shook his head. You ever think about how things would have gone if she'd never left you? I actually thought about that for a second, genuinely. Honestly, I think I would have spent my whole life shrinking myself to fit into whatever she needed that week. I never would have asked for that promotion. Never would have reconnected with Olivia. Never would have become someone Derek thought was worth mentoring. So she did you a favor. She didn't mean to. I smiled slightly. But yeah, in the end, I think she did. Olivia found us a few minutes later, slipping her arm through mine. Ready to head out? I'm exhausted, and I believe someone promised me pancakes if we left before midnight. I did promise that. Then let's go, Senior Director. We said our goodbyes, and as we walked toward the exit, I felt Chloe's eyes on us one last time. Not angry, not desperate, just watching, the way you watch something that used to belong to you and doesn't anymore. I didn't look back. There was nothing back there I needed. Outside, the night air was cool, and Olivia leaned her head against my shoulder as we waited for the car. You've been quiet, she said. Good quiet or thinking too much quiet. Good quiet, actually. I wrapped my arm around her. I keep thinking about how none of this was revenge. I never planned any of it. I didn't destroy Richard's career or Chloe's reputation or any of it. They did that themselves. So what did you do? I just walked away, I said, and built something real instead of waiting around to be chosen. Olivia smiled up at me, steady as always. And here we are. Here we are, I echoed, and for the first time since that day in the checkout line, I understood completely. I hadn't needed to win anything back. I needed to walk forward. Everything I actually wanted had been waiting for me there the whole time.